Hi, I'm Thomas Appel, author of Can You Sing a High C Without Straining? The first thing I want to talk with you about is physically how you go about making a sound with your voice. You're going to start things off by taking a breath. And for singing, we want to use what's called abdominal breathing, using a muscle called the abdominal diaphragm. I'm going to show you how to do that in just a few minutes. For the time being, we're just going to assume that you've gotten that air into your lungs the right way. Once it's down here, it's got to come out in order for you to make a sound on the way out. It's going to pass right up your throat, right in between these two small muscles called the vocal cords or the vocal folds. Those two terms can be used interchangeably. It's the action of the air passing between the folds that causes them to vibrate back and forth. This vibration produces a sound, and that sound is the sound you call your voice. Now, to illustrate to you how the vocal folds work, how they change pitch, what I'm going to do is trace the path of a series of notes, starting at a low note, going right up the musical scale to a really high note. We're going to do this on a guitar string, and then use that as an analogy to help illustrate to you how your voice works. Let's just imagine that I was putting a brand new string on my guitar. I'm going to start by threading it through the tailpiece, bring it down the fretboard, and then wrap it around the tuning peg. Now, as I go to twist that tuning peg, physically, what's going to be happening to that string? Well, the answer is simple. It's going to be getting tighter. And if you were picking it while you were pulling it tighter, the pitch is going to rise. So if you want to raise the pitch on that string, all you've got to do is increase the tension. So you're twisting and pulling and picking, and sure enough, the pitch goes right up. But pretty soon, you're going to hit the elastic limit of that string. When you hit that point, if you continue trying to raise the pitch by further tightening, you can guess what's going to happen to that string. It's going to snap. But what if you're not satisfied with how high that string is playing? You want it to produce a higher pitch, but you can't pull it any tighter. What are you going to do? Once again, the answer is simple. As a guitar player, you just put your finger on the fretboard and move it down the fretboard. What this does is it shortens the vibrating length of the string, causing the pitch to rise. Now, there's a law of physics that states whenever anything that's creating a pitch by vibrating, when you decrease the mass of the vibrating substance, it's going to cause the pitch to rise. So you can make it shorter, make it skinnier. Whatever you do to decrease that mass is going to cause a pitch rise. So for guitar playing, you decrease the mass by shortening the vibrating length. Now, the cool thing about this for guitar player is by using this shortening method, the high notes on a guitar really do play just as easily as the low notes. The positioning is different for a high note, but you wouldn't say it was harder to do, took more work or energy. It's simply different. And this is a very important point for singers, because this represents a clear picture of the way your singing should feel throughout the entire range of your voice. High notes can sing just as easily as low notes when your vocal technique is in good shape and you're properly warmed up with a healthy voice. Let's see how this guitar analogy relates to the way your vocal folds work. When you go to sing, there are three muscle groups that come into play: the cricothyroid muscle, the vocalis muscle, and the adductor muscle groups. Now, the cricothyroid muscle is on the front of your throat. When you contract it, it pulls against the cartilage and it stretches the vocal folds, kind of like this rubber band right here. When I stretch the rubber band, you can see it's very flexible, so it's really easy to stretch. You can also see that right now it's relatively thick. When I stretch it, it gets skinnier. Well, that's pretty much how the vocal folds work. They're very flexible, so when you contract your cricothyroid muscle and stretch them, it won't feel hard at all. It's really easy to do. But they also get skinnier, and so there's going to be a pitch raise in your singing because of a tissue tension increase and a mass decrease. The part of the tissue that vibrates is going to get skinnier, thinner, so there's a mass decrease in the tissue vibrating. Both of these things work together to cause your pitch to rise. Now, the cricothyroid muscle is your primary muscle used for getting you on the note, getting you in the neighborhood. And it's really easy. It doesn't feel like straining. It feels very, very comfortable. The next muscle group It's called the vocalis muscle. Now, your vocalis muscle is actually the vocal folds themselves. They are a muscle, the vocalis muscle. Now, when you contract your vocalis muscle, it's kind of like contracting my tricep. In a relaxed state, it's kind of flabby and loose, and when I contract it, it gets really stiff, okay? That's pretty much how your vocal folds work. When your vocalis muscle is relaxed, the vocal fold tissue is not tense. And when you go to sing, your singing is going to be very mellow because they won't hold back a lot of air pressure. But as you contract your vocalis muscle, the muscular fibers get a lot stiffer. It takes a lot more air pressure to make them vibrate. And this increase in air pressure is perceived as an increase in intensity to anybody listening to you sing. So your vocalis muscle is your primary muscle used for controlling the intensity of your singing. The last muscle group is the adductor muscles. Now, when your vocal folds are open for breathing, the adductor muscles, when you contract them, they bring the folds together for singing. Now, the vocal folds have to be close together to sing, but the adductor muscles have another cool trick. You can give them a little extra contraction. What it does, it kind of pinches off the rear end, the posterior end of the folds, causing the vibrating length to shorten. Since the vibrating length is now shorter, the part that vibrates, the glottis, this causes the pitch to go up without straining. Just like the guitarist fretting down the fretboard of a guitar, by engaging your adductor muscles and clamping off the back end, you're going to cause the pitch to rise without straining. So this is another way to get the pitch up there very comfortably and very safely.
Watch this video of a singer getting ready to sing up to tenor high C in full voice. After taking a breath, the chords are brought together, then they begin to adduct from the back towards the front. Notice how they're kind of clamped together at the back of the singer's throat near the top of the screen. I'll freeze the frame on the highest note. By clamping the back of the chords together, the vibrating length is shortened and the singer is able to sing the tenor high C without straining.
So what I want to teach you to do, in a nutshell, is to become expert at controlling your cricothyroid, vocalis, and adductor muscles. When you can do this, you can sing like a pro. Now you might be thinking, well, Thomas, this sounds great, but how in the world do I control all of these muscles that I can't even see? Well, since you can't see them, you've got to go by sensation, what you feel and what you hear. This is really simple. When you go to sing a low note, your vocal folds in a relaxed state don't have enough mass to create a low pitch. So you've got to contract your vocalis muscle a little bit. This gets you on that low pitch. When you're singing in that state, you're going to feel the sensation of resonance below the vocal folds in the lower part of your throat, close to your chest. We're going to call resonance below the vocal folds chest voice. Now, as soon as you start to raise the pitch by contracting your cricothyroid muscle, with each stretch of those folds, you're going to begin experiencing more resonance above the folds, up in your head cavity. We're going to call resonance above the vocal folds head voice. So, and also posterior adduction, making the vibrating length shorter by engaging your adductor muscles, also initiates head resonance. So if you're singing correctly, with each succeeding raise in pitch, there should be more head resonance in the vocal tone. That tells you that you're either adducting or contracting your cricothyroid muscle to raise the pitch. If you don't experience more head resonance with each succeeding raise in pitch, that tells you you're over-contracting your vocalis muscle to try to get that pitch up there. And for most of you, that's the source of your vocal strain. I'm sure you've been singing a song or an exercise where you get to a note and you just can't sing any higher no matter what you do. When you try, you feel like you're yelling and straining. It's really uncomfortable. You know it's wrong. And when this happens, it's because you're over-contracting your vocalis muscle. So what I want to teach you to do is to become expert at independently controlling your cricothyroid, vocales, and adductor muscles. When you can do this, you can sing anywhere you want, really high notes, very comfortably, very safely, and with lots of power. Now, I've been training singers how to sing a high C without straining for more than a quarter of a century. I know this works. I've been doing it for so long with a tremendous success rate. And it's so important for you to know by watching this introductory video that you can do this. You walked in here with all the equipment. You're watching this video with the right muscles. The only thing that separates you between being able to pull this off is time and training. That's it. You can do this. You don't have to be genetically gifted. It's just muscle training. I hope I've made this seem really simple for you. And it's really critically important that we get your belief level to a high state so you know you can do this. In my book, I mentioned the story of a young runner named Roger Bannister. Now, Bannister became the first runner in history to break the 4-minute mile. And prior to his breaking this record, it was commonly thought by many to be an impossible feat. No one had ever done it before. The year after Bannister broke this record, more than 20 runners broke the 4-minute mile. Why? Because they knew they could do it. As long as they thought it was impossible, for them it was impossible. And there's no real human explanation for this. When you're running out around a track, there's no way to know whether it's 359.9 or 400.1. But something inside you knows. And when you get to the point where you believe you can do it, it unleashes something inside that makes it happen. And so with singing, it's so important for you to be able to know you can do this, to believe it's possible. And just listen to me, listen to my experience, all of the thousands of singers that I've taught how to do this. And I'm telling you, you can do it. So what I want you to do right now is just gear up for one of the most exciting voice lessons of your life and get ready to go, because this is probably going to be a life-changing experience for you. I'm hoping it is. I've worked with so many people over the years that have told me, Thomas, if only I had met you when I was younger, I could have had a career at this. And they're always happy when they get it, but let's hope in your case that it's sooner and not later. And my prayer is that God will bless your singing and help you to really get the most out of every single exercise on this video.
Okay, now, do you have any questions about anything that I've said so far?
No.
Okay, in that case, I've got a question for you. Why don't you go ahead and show me how you would go about taking a big, deep breath for singing? Inhale. Exhale. Okay, now, that's what we call a chest breath. Chest breathing, or more technically called clavicular breathing, isn't the best way to breathe for singing. It doesn't work very well. Let me explain an important reason why, and then I'll show you the right way to take a breath for singing. Go ahead and take a big, deep chest breath. Now blow out that air. Okay. Now when you blew that air out, did you notice you didn't really push your chest down, did you?
No.
You didn't pull your chest down. You know what you did? You dropped it down. The weight of your chest squeezed out that air. Now, when you go to sing really high notes with strong vocal tone, it takes a certain amount of air pressure to make the vocal folds vibrate. If you don't give the folds enough air pressure, you don't get the note. And unfortunately for you, the descent of your chest, it just doesn't have it. You could practice the exercises that I'll be giving you today for the rest of your career as a singer. And if you're using that method to squeeze out your air, you would never be able to sing high notes, at least not with a lot of control or power. It just doesn't work. There's only one way to pull this off. It's called abdominal breathing. You suck the air in by pulling your abdominal diaphragm down. The outward sign is a protruding stomach. Your stomach sticks out. Then you squeeze the air out by contracting and hardening your lower ab muscles. It's lightning fast and generates all of the air pressure you'll ever need to sing really high notes with strong vocal tone and no strain. Now, the easiest way to learn how to do this is by lying down. So what I want you to do
is go ahead and lie down right on the floor, flat on your back. This is the easiest part of the whole lesson. You get to kick back and relax for a few minutes.
Now we're going to do our breathing exercise. I've placed a Bible on your stomach because when you're learning how to breathe abdominally, it's a lot easier to feel the action of those abdominal muscles when you have something to push against like a Bible or a phone book. So what I want you to do is practice this exercise lying down. As soon as you have the hang of it on your back, go ahead and try the same thing standing up. Now we're going to begin our exercise. I want you to inhale for 4 seconds, hold your breath for 4 seconds, and finally, exhale for 4 seconds. When you exhale, squeeze those ab muscles and hiss with all your might. Here we go. Inhale. Stomach's popping up. Hold your breath. And hiss. Squeeze out that air. Inhale. Push the Bible up. Hold your breath. And hiss. Squeeze those abs. Inhale. Stomach's popping up. Hold your breath. And hiss. Inhale. Push it up high. Hold your breath. No chest expansion. And hiss. One more. Inhale. Hold your breath. And hiss. Now when you stand, it's important to stand up straight. If you slouch when you breathe abdominally, you won't get quite as much air in. So go ahead and stand upright while you're taking your breath. After you've got the air in, it doesn't matter what you do. Okay, now we're going to do some singing. We're going to start off with a 4-note arpeggio that goes like this. All I want you to do is just hum for me smoothly and connected like a siren. Sing along. Now, those bottom notes are resonating below your vocal cords. In the bottom portion of your throat, close to your chest, we call that chest voice. The top notes have already started to resonate up in your head. Can you feel that resonance kind of going up and down?
Yeah.
Good. Carry on. Now as you go to sing the higher notes, the resonance is now going up into the top of your head. Can you feel that?
Mm-hmm.
Can you feel your cricothyroid muscle stretching the folds towards the front as you sing the high note?
Good. Carry on. now we're going to sing some vowel sounds. We're going to start things off with the E vowel sound. When you sing an E, you want to have your jaw down about 1/8 of an inch, tip of the tongue behind your bottom front teeth, and the front of your tongue arched. Say I.
I.
Now say E.
I.
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 E.
I.
Can you feel your tongue kind of arching up in the front for that E?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Let's sing wee, wee, wee on this 6-note arpeggio that goes like this. Sing along. Wee, wee, wee.
Wee, 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 wee. Wee, 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 wee. Wee, 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 wee. Wee, 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 wee,
Okay, now I want you to sing wee, wee, wee 7 times in a row in what's called falsetto. Now I'm going to define falsetto for you as any time you're singing with your vocalis muscle relaxed. Doesn't matter whether you're singing high, low, loud, or soft. If your vocalis muscle is relaxed, you're in falsetto. Sounds like this.
Try that. Okay, now come down in falsetto.
Now I want you to sing 7 times in a row in what's called full voice. Now I'm going to define full voice for you as any time you're singing with your vocalis muscle contracted, and the degree of contraction determines the intensity of your tone. It sounds like this.
Wee, 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 wee. Try it.
Wee, 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 wee.
Now falsetto.
Wee, 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 wee.
Full voice.
Wee, 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 wee.
Good. Now we're going to do some exercises for extending the range of your full voice. You may have noticed, as we sang the 6-note arpeggio with the wheeze, you sang the first few notes in full voice, but all of those high notes were all sung in falsetto.
Now, falsetto is an important part of your vocal technique. It's great for background harmony, singing softly, special effects like yodeling, but it doesn't cut it for the main chorus of the lead vocal. It's just not strong enough. You need to be able to sing anywhere you want in full voice and then use falsetto as a special effect, but you don't want to be stuck singing your high notes in falsetto because that's the only way you can hit the note. For this reason, we need to extend the range of your full voice. In order to do this, there are a number of things you've got to do.
Number 1, you need to take an abdominal breath from down below, a big stomach-popping, bloated abdominal breath. It's easiest to generate the air pressure you need when you're squeezing against a full tank. And then contract your ab muscles and squeeze out that air. Take a big deep breath. Now hiss. Good. Can you feel those ab muscles squeezing against that compressed air?
Let me elaborate on how I want you to squeeze. Let's just pretend that I was going to be giving you a big punch in the stomach. But I'm a nice guy, so I'll let you know ahead of time. The same way that you would block that punch by hardening your abs, that's exactly how you have to keep your stomach muscles hardened whenever you sing. Now here's the way it works. If you're singing a low note in falsetto, a little squeeze gets the job done. But if you're singing a high note in full voice, you've got to really squeeze to make the vocal folds vibrate. So you always squeeze in proportion to the degree of cricothyroid, vocalis, and adductor muscle contraction levels. The next thing you've got to do is block the air that you're squeezing against by contracting your adductor muscles. This brings the vocal folds together so close that when you squeeze from down below, the air can't get out, so air pressure builds up behind the folds. This creates and sustains your vocal tone. Then you'll contract your vocalis muscle. This adds mass to the vibrating tissue and allows you to hit a low pitch. It also sets the intensity level of the exercise because on this exercise, we're not going to let go of that vocalis contraction. To raise the pitch, initially, you'll contract your cricothyroid muscle. This stretches the folds. And with each stretch of the folds, you're going to experience more head resonance in your vocal tone. If you're doing it right, the further up you sing, the more head resonance you're going to experience. Now, it's easiest when you're learning how to sing high notes in full voice if you do the exercises loud. But I never want you to strain or push your voice past a comfortable limit when singing an exercise, when going for a high note. How do we balance this? It's really simple. If you're going up to a high note in an exercise and you don't think you can get that top note safely and comfortably, simply go flat. This on the low side. You might surprise yourself and get it because as you now know, singing high notes is just as easy as singing low notes. It's just different. But don't back off. It's a lot harder to do if you back off. So sing it strongly. Look for increased head resonance with each succeeding raise in pitch. You can also adduct the folds. You can clamp the adductor muscles together at the back. This shortens the vibrating length and is another way to raise the pitch without straining. This too initiates head resonance in your vocal tone. So go up strongly, don't back off, look for increased head resonance with each succeeding raise in pitch. That's your best shot.
We're going to start things off with the A vowel sound like in the word rate on this 4-note arpeggio. This time in full voice, okay? Sing away.
Hey
those abs. Now tell me, honestly, didn't those high notes sing just as easily as the ones on the bottom? Mm-hmm. See, when you do it right, it really does feel very strong, very powerful, but almost effortless, all at the same time. Come on down. Okay, now we're going to do some exercises for controlling the tone of your voice. You can control the tone of your voice by raising or lowering an organ in your throat called the larynx. Go ahead and grab your throat just like this. Now swallow. Can you feel something kind of bobbing up and down in there? Mm-hmm. That's your larynx. When that thing is raised, the vocal tone becomes thin and bright. When it's lowered, the vocal tone becomes deep and rich. We're going to start things off with some high laryngeal exercises. When you raise your larynx, the tone gets real thin and bright. Can you talk like this and say the word obnoxious?
Obnoxious.
Good. Now when you spoke with that thin, crabby tone, you achieve that tone by raising your larynx. We're going to sing na 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 on this 5-note pattern that goes like this with a high laryngeal position. I'll give you an example. Na 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 na. Try it.
Na 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 na.
Stay in full voice.
Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na.
Now when you sing with deep, rich vocal tone, you lower your larynx. It sounds a lot like singing or speaking in the middle of a big yawn. Can you talk like this and say, Thomas, I do believe today is Monday.
Thomas, I do believe today is Monday.
Good. Now when you spoke with that deep, rich vocal tone, you achieve that tone by lowering your larynx. We're going to sing gug, 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 gug with a low laryngeal position on that same pattern, like this. Gug, gug, gug. Deep and goofy. Now, those last two exercises were clearly exaggerated tonal exercises, meaning it's rare that you're going to be singing with tone quite as thin or quite as deep as the examples I was giving you. However, it is important to note the range of tone available to you, which is why we do the exercises. Most of the time, you want to be singing with your larynx in a neutral position for natural sounding tone. Unfortunately, your larynx has a bad habit. It likes to raise right along with the pitch. Now, if you allow this to happen as you go to sing the higher notes, I may be able to teach you how to sing really high notes with no strain and full voice. But if your larynx is too high, that tone's going to be real thin and whiny once you get up there. For this reason, many of the exercises that we do are going to be centered around learning how to sing those high notes with your larynx in a neutral or slightly lowered position, so that the tone of your voice on the top is just as rich as the tone of your voice on the bottom.
That'll be all the exercises we'll do in this session. I want you to practice 1 hour per day, 6 days a week. Take 1 day off each week and rest your voice completely. 24 hours in a row with no singing. That means no singing to these exercises, no singing to the radio, no singing period. Your voice likes to be worked and rested routinely. Whatever day you pick, make it the same day each week. May God bless your singing. Now, some of you would like to take your voice to the next level. That's going to happen by private training. If you'd like to train with me, just give me a phone call, send me an email. My current contact information is at my website, vocalinstruction.com. Be happy to help. Nothing takes the place of private one-on-one lessons. The book is great. This video is really, really helpful, but it's not as good as private training. So give me a call. I'll be happy to diagnose your problems, really get to the bottom of exactly what it's going to take you to the next level.